anyway, thanks for coming along. This is what's probably going to be the last of the coronavirus meetings that we're having at the moment, unless something unprecedented happens and we have a secondary spike or something like that. Just want to go through 4 things just to get us all bouncing back into business, making sure that we're doing it safely, making sure that everyone's got the best practices going. So we're going to cover 4 different areas here. So it's best practices, how we're going to support each other, anything that we need from the council and finances, and then how do we all bounce back into business. So essentially what we've got is the information from the government. Now there is lots of information from the government, and if not, there's too much information. It's like what is right and what is apt for ourselves. The most important part for ourselves is if you search for gov.uk and working safely during coronavirus, it comes out with a list of different service areas and the steps that we should be adhering to for these. So particularly with regard to Purley, we've got shops and branches, and those have been working for some time. We've got restaurants, bars, takeaways, which are open, as you know, from Saturday, and also close contact areas, close contact services, so such as hairdressers, barbers, beauty, etc. And so what I want to do, so if you go into each one of these, you'll come up with a list of highlights and also a downloadable sheet. So this is the one for the close contact services. And there's about 28 pages or so on this, 42 pages on this. So there's a lot of information on here. It's a fair bit of it's repeated. One of the things that they recommend everyone has is one of these posters in the window. Now we've provided every business with a branded one of these for Purley. Don't just sign it and put it up. Look, do read the information on it and adhere to the regulations, so that make sure that you are cleaning and hand washing, that you are helping people work from home, that you are maintaining this 2 metre, 1 metre plus social distancing wherever possible. It's not just there to make the shop look pretty. We do need to make sure that we are seen to walk the walk as well as talk the talk with regards to being safe within Purley. So that's the close distance working. There's also another one with regards to pubs and restaurants. And again, we've got loads of regulations, pubs, restaurants, bars, etc. And again, that's got a lot of regulations on there. What I just want to do is, rather than going through every point, is just go through kind of like the highlights of what we need to make sure that we are doing and seem to be doing and are actually putting into practice between those 2 key documents. So there'll be some that will be related to close distance, some that will be related to bars, and some that will be related to both. So essentially, from Saturday, all businesses can open, with the exception of indoor, regarding to Purley businesses, indoor play areas, spas, nail, beauty and tanning salons, massage and tattoo and piercings, indoor fitness, dance studios, sports facilities and swimming pools. Aside from that, the rest of Purley can open. But please do note that the hairdressers and barbers, etc., cannot provide the other beauty services that are sometimes associated with it. So if we're talking about nails or other beauty services along there, it is just for hairdressing. You can't open for all the other areas as well. For what we're doing, we need to make sure that we keep a record, a secure GDPR compliant record of all visitors and the times they arrive and leave for your establishment for 21 days post their visit, and then securely destroy them as well. So we need this for track and trace and quarantine. So if somebody has been and we can see that they're in close proximity to somewhere, and so particularly if you're in a large bar with certain areas, you might not want to quarantine or track and trace everyone who was in that bar, but particularly within a certain area of it that was close to those people. So we need to make sure that there's a procedure put in place. Now, this will be different from one area to another. So barbers and hairdressers, they might well be working on an appointment basis. And so we do have those details straight away. For bars, cafes and restaurants, that might be a different process. I mean, restaurants are probably booking as well, but when you're turning up on a bar or a cafe, you might need to have another process on how you're going to record who has turned up, when they turned up, and how we're going to track and trace if they report symptoms or if other people that they were close to start reporting symptoms. And this is really, really important. We can see what's going on with Leicester at the moment and that they're closing that down. So we do need to make sure that we do adhere to this. Track and trace, again, obviously make sure you have got your procedures in place, that it's if it's stored on a PC, it's on a secure password protected document, or if it's on paper, that it's in a lock safe as well, or desk drawer or something, just to make sure that it is GDPR compliant and it's only used for this, and that you do ensure and make people aware that this information will be destroyed after 21 days. Are people okay with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, incidentally, would there be any special stationery, or you just keep your own record?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to pick up on this support. So do we need to have special stationery, or do we think it will be useful that we have a working pad that we can do this, or are we going to just use an Excel spreadsheet, etc.? Marlon, you're going to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I had to sort of, this guy was just leaving, so I had to see him out. So I missed a little bit of what you said. So ultimately, so let me just use our business as an example. So Lupita, so if Tanya's in there, customers come and go. Sometimes it's very quick coffee, whatever the case may be. Are we saying that Tanya is now mandated to ask everyone for their contact details when they are coming in and out, irrespective of whatever they're doing or however long they are spending in there?
If it's for a table service and in-house service, then yes. If it's for takeaway, it's carry on as business as usual, as other takeaway businesses have been doing. You turn up, get your takeaway and move on. If you sit down at the table for half an hour, then it'll be needed to be required for moving on.
And what information do we need to take?
So it's name and contact details and time that they were there.
So name, mobile number, and what time they were there.
Yes, so mobile, home number, email address.
Right. And what is the government protocol if someone says, look, I'm not going to give you that? Do we have any advice on that? I'm just trying to understand how we deal with that. So someone comes and says, look, I want to order a full English. They're going to sit down.
Yeah.
And we say, look, as part of the COVID-19 back to work remit, we've got to take this information. This is, look, I'm not going to give you that information. Are there any guidance around if someone comes in and says, I'm not going to give you that information, or I'm not happy to give you that information?
I mean, very good question. I think that's part of why we're having this call, so that we can all share this. I would very much suspect that, first and foremost, we show how we're adhering to GDPR with this. So whether it's on the special stationery that we create or a post we put up and say, explain clearly why we need this, how it's going to be kept secure, and how and when it's going to be destroyed, to give them the reassurance. And so that's our duty. Customers then have to have their duty and comply to it. So if they're not confident with that, I think it is a case where unfortunately we have to say, sorry, we can't serve you on this establishment. You can have a takeaway, but if you're going to stay in presence here, then you have to adhere to these government regulations. I don't know what the rest of us think. I think that's what it seems to be coming down from the government. They haven't explicitly said.
I get that. So in any of those government display signs, does it say anything along the lines? So ultimately what we're sort of saying is we might need to put up a sign on what do you call it, the counter or whatever, to sort of say, look, if you don't provide, we reserve the right to refuse to serve you if you can't, if you refuse to provide that information. You with me? Kind of thing. So,
very good call. And as you can see, that this is the document that's on the screen at the moment is the only one that's provided by the government that doesn't mention about track or trace. It's such a quick turning thing. I don't think I haven't seen any, and not even in these documents have told us about how we're going to deal with people who don't provide us with that information. But I can't see if we're reasonably looking to make sure that, look, track and trace is the #1 thing that's going to sort this out, apparently. Even the WHO is saying that today. I think it's our duty as businesses and to make sure that we have got a safe environment. And you could be challenged, how can you provide a safe environment if you can't provide track and trace? So if you imagine one person then reports a few days later and you're not recording their details, is that providing them a safe environment?
No, I get that. I think the rationale of what we're saying is right. I'm just trying to get inside my head how to deal with everything. Things are always good when they work well. When they don't work well, you need to know how to deal with it. That's what I'm thinking of. So
Absolutely.
Simon, just on Marlon's point, which is very, very valid, what happens if somebody books a table, as an example, gives you the name, and when they come into the restaurant, you say, you know, I need to make you aware that government regulations require me to have these details. Do you turn that business away if they said no? Or on the form, you've got their name and you can complete the rest of it, client refused to give details? Would that suffice? Because these are hard times to turn a customer away.
Absolutely. I think it's a case that I think we need to be as open as honest with this as possible and show how transparent we are and how secure the data is going to be safe. So when people are phoning up to book, maybe that's the time you say, thanks for booking with us. Please can I take the names, or we'll be requesting the names and contact details of the visitors to comply with the government's track and trace.
Yeah, that's by they walk through the front door, you know.
Yeah, to be honest with you, just going by what your suggestion is, I don't think that works. That doesn't really fall in line with what we're trying to achieve here, because if you put down, oh, customers coming but refuse to provide the information, and there is an outbreak in Purley or your restaurant or next door or something, and the government comes to you and says, can you provide that information? Giving them a piece of paper that says, John Smith come in, name not provided, sorry, telephone not provided, doesn't help, does it? It's like, it's not worth it. It's like a chocolate teapot.
No, I agree, Marlon. All I'm asking is that possible, you know?
And looking back on this, if say all of a sudden there was a hotspot in a pub and it was found that 30 people went to this pub and got infected and then were challenged by either local authority or the police, who's been in here, we need to track and trace, it's your duty to do this, and you can't provide that, I would be surprised. I would think that there's going to be some sanctions on there. Actually, one of the points that was raised on here, if your customers don't adhere to the social distancing within a premises, they can still be fined. And so therefore, I would think that that would roll on to the track and trace, that if they're not adhering to the regulations, they can be fined. I think it is.
Can I say something, please?
Go on, Justina.
Yeah, I am wondering if it's possible to find this information from Public Health England, because there's quite a lot of a grey area as far as this is concerned. In our own situation, sometimes service users will come to our office, or prospective candidates will want to come in. At this point, I'm stopping them at the door, and I am intending to get like a thermometer to start checking their temperature before they can come in. But that doesn't, if they don't have a temperature at that point, does not indicate that they do not have this. I think it's something that we may need to speak to Public Health England to see maybe if we can get some directives on that.
Yeah, Justina, I think you're right on that. I also would say that the government guidelines that you can see up on the screen at the moment, which, as I said, at the beginning of the meeting are for individual business areas. As you can see here, if you go to the government website with the guidelines, they'll come out
Yeah.
with those things. So such as the recommendations of putting social distancing tape, how you interact with people, how you have shields or face guards, how you click down. Yes.
We keep them by the
Great.
side when they're coming, yeah.
And putting all those procedures in, so you can have people, maybe even if it's just a questionnaire, have you been displaying any symptoms? No, you can take that as a statement. If they are then spending over 2 minutes with you in close proximity, then it is a case of, look, and you'll probably have all their details anyway, obviously, but if people are having a stay-in service, then you'll have their contact details to share.
Yeah.
And with every one of these services, if you have a look at all of the different ones here, they all do mention about keeping the place clean, making sure that you're washing your hands, having sanitizer, having screens, working side to side rather than face to face.
Yeah, it's fair enough. We do all that, but in terms of Marlon, it was Marlon, wasn't it? So what he was saying, I quite, empathize with him, because these guys will want to come in and you don't want to send them away because of the business you'll be losing by not having them. And a lot of them will probably come in and just be obstinate that they're not going to give you any information about them, except if they can go with takeaway. Takeaway might be the only thing, but it may not be as good to them. They may not appreciate that as well. It's just a way to keep us up and running, all of us in Purley.
It is such a look. It's a very interesting can of worms you opened here, because these documents here are about safe working, and as I said at the beginning, they have got tons and tons of information about what we need to do to adhere to the safe working, but it doesn't touch on the bit they mentioned about you need to be able to track and trace people. And then particularly in bars and restaurants, I think that's because if you go to a bar, you're not going to contact all the people around you. It's going to be the bar's responsibility for that, or the restaurant's responsibility for that. I would suspect, look, you do the best job possible. I would suggest that it is almost a mandate that for you to have a sit-down service within this bar or cafe or hairdressers or barbers, that part of that requirement is that you share your contact details as part of track and trace, because it is our public duty to do that. And look, it's the call of the business. If somebody doesn't give that details, I would suspect you're at risk of being fined yourselves if you don't contact that details. It doesn't explicitly say that. It only says that if you're breaking the 2 meter rule regularly, then you are liable to fines. It hasn't been anything about if you're not taking the track and trace details.
I think common sense will prevail. I think the reason I asked the question, I just wanted to sort of have a clear understanding in my head. If you just do get some idiot coming into your establishment and just doesn't want to comply, how do we play it? I just want to know, right, well, to say to Tanya, right, okay, look, it's your call. If you feel that you don't want to serve that person, then you're going to have to turn them away. But I'm hoping that we won't get to that point.
You know what, we hope that, and maybe it's a case where if that is the case, you say, well, okay, we can serve you, but as long as you sit outside. We can.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of that. You sit outside, or you just take away. I'm happy to serve you inside, but you've got to provide some deals. If not, I'm happy to serve you food, but it'll have to be takeaway.
Look, we know how serious this is. I mean, we've just gone past, was it 500,000 deaths in total, and the WHO have just said, look, we haven't seen anything yet. We as a community, I think it's our duty to provide as safe an environment as possible.
Well, look at Leicester.
Pardon?
Look at Leicester.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got to give confidence to people that we're working responsible. And if that means that, we have to turn away one in a couple, then maybe that actually sends out a very good signal. And people say, actually, I've got a lot of confidence. It said we have turned away people who won't provide track and tracing. And then that might mean that other people have got confidence to come in.
I think putting our bid board hats on, Simon, as the chair of the bid, I think our position from a bid support perception should be, we're telling our members, track and trace. If not, the board's position is you do not serve that. You do not let that person sit in the establishment. Our view is you can serve them, but they leave. And if we're absolutely clear in our message, then there's no ambiguity then, is there?
And hopefully we'll get that. I mean, myself and Catherine are seeing people regularly, and we'll share that message as well. And look, if we've done all this work and people have so regularly accepted the social distancing tape and the face masks and those bits, the businesses have done their duty. The members of the public also have to do their duty as well. I know not everyone does, and we've seen that in the news, but with regards to Purley, I think we can try and give people the confidence that we are acting responsible.
Simon, I was just going to say, perhaps the businesses could start with asking whether they've downloaded the app, the track and trace app, because that's what the government were promoting.
That's been kicked into touch, the app now.
Oh, has it? That's gone. Yeah. Okay.
It was meant to be end of January, and that there was.
So we have to do it ourselves.
Huge muck up on that. So it's just by telephone now. So it's just contacting.
The publicity that's given to track and tracing, that incoming customers will be cooperative, you know, because they're aware of it, you know. And
also thinking about that, you talked about how we're going to do this. So you probably can't have one sheet of paper with all the people in the business. It's going to have to be per person, because if you get somebody to sign a bit of paper and they've got all the other contact details of people in there, that's a big GDPR issue.
But do they have to sign it, or?
I would doubt you have to sign. I think it's just the establishment's record of tracking people.
Yeah, so my view would be Tanya would have a clipboard that's kept behind the counter in a safe place, and she asks the person their name and their telephone number, puts it on the clipboard, and then puts it away in a secure area so it doesn't go in the public domain.
Very good point, actually, that, because it's if you're handing out pens and clipboards to people, those pens have to be washed.
What about all the restaurants in Purley? It would be like a consortium of things, like Safer and Secure Purley. Everybody in Purley serving food, making sure that they all speak from one sheet. That you know that you go anywhere in Purley, if you don't give your details that is required, you will not get served on the premises. You can only take away. If it's a uniform thing, I have the feeling that people will be more inclined to cooperate.
Yeah, and we can share that message. We could maybe knock up a form people could fill out themselves if they're turning up, and fill it out themselves and hand over to the restaurant as they arrive, as well if they don't. If the restaurant don't already take their details in the first place.
Because if they know that restaurant A in Purley would not serve and they go to restaurant B, they get the same thing, then they would end up complying.
Yeah,
that's a very valid point, Simon. There must be consistency with all the restaurants or cafes. They're doing the same thing, you know?
Actually, do you think...
As was just Patrick pointed out now, they could walk into another one and they could bend the rule a bit, you know?
Do you think, therefore, that we as the bid, as kind of like the point of reference, has a poster put up into the windows to say to use these facilities to sit down and have a meal, haircut, or whatever, we must need to get the details for track and trace for your safety?
Definitely.
You could Simon, do a standardized form, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like one of the banners on the street could bear that, telling them how safe and secure we want to ensure that our community is. And then that will probably ease off the people's thing about releasing their information.
Okay, yeah, we'll look to try and get one of those knocked up for Saturday. Blimey. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, we'll do something with regard to track and trace for that. I think individually businesses can work out their own way, but it's a place where we don't want to be sharing pens with people. Otherwise, you have to wash the pen every single time. Yeah, we'll get something out for that. Right, so that's perfect. That's exactly why we've had this call, is to start going through these things that they haven't mentioned on the documents. Things they have mentioned on the documents. I'll move on from this just because we've gone through half our time. Key things that we're looking on when we're working is obviously, look, we're trying to remove, so for barbers and hair salons, we're trying to not have people waiting around. So the recommendations are that when you have bookings, that there is a gap left between the bookings to make sure that there's time for overrun, that there's time to be able to clean up the area that you've been working in. Across the board, it's if you've got uniforms or your clothes, it's making sure that those clothes aren't worn home on public transport and that those clothes aren't worn the next day. So you have a set of clothes for the your premises, and then it'll be a different set of clothes to go home in. So I don't know if there are changing facilities on site that's practicable to use, because if you, particularly if you're on public transport, if you've been in a bar where there's been 40 people and you've contacted, and then you go onto a bus or a train, then that could be an issue. If you're driving home through your own means, maybe you could probably get away with it, but particularly if you are using other public transport, then you should not be wearing the same clothes you wore in as you were working in that restaurant or bar or wherever, the hairdressers, etc. When working, they recommend that you work in pairs at the most. So you have people that, say if you've got a hairdresser and an apprentice, those two stick together as their working bubble within the business. Those people only serve, and if we look at more restaurants, that one person serves one group of people throughout the time in that. So we don't have two people serving the same table. So it's one person per table. The recommendations are also that where possible, we prevent cross-contamination from one area of a bar to another bar. So if you've got people who are working in the kitchen staff, that communications to front office, if possible, are done more by radio or by other means than people walking all the way through the restaurant, going to the front and coming back. So you've got to try and keep those distances going as possible. Where working, we need to make sure that we can work side to side or back to back as much as possible. We need to be able to keep the noise down in places as much as possible. So bars and restaurants, if there is music, it's got to be very low, because shouting obviously gets more air out and has a wider range for spreading the virus. We've provided lots of tape already, so if you need more tape, give us a call. Tape is a clear indicator where you've got to make sure you've got working areas, both for yourself and for customers visiting. Using the tape, we're making sure that where possible it's contactless payments. I think that's gone up to £45, is it now, contactless? Somewhere around there, so that's gone up quite a bit. We've got to look at minimising shared equipment between staff as well, where possible. So whether it's knives or forks or scissors or brushes or whatever. And I know the majority of barbers and hairdressers do have their own set of equipment, but it's not sharing it between people, and then also making sure it's thoroughly sterilised and the whole area is sterilised post a treatment or service. One thing that was interesting in the documents, because we've seen lots of people all think differently about how they're going to protect people. And the recommendations were that if you've got a face visor, as demonstrated by Justina earlier, if you've got one of those face masks, the guards, then there's no need to have a separate screen. So it could be the choice. And I think particularly within the service areas, such as hairdressers and bars and whatever, that could save a lot of inconvenience, and that if we have a face guard, then we should be okay with regards to dealing with people. I know we've provided tons and tons of shields, and I think they're great, and that they really help with reducing this and giving confidence. But particularly, I don't think that works in the hairdressers or barbers. I think the face guards, because if you're thinking how close you are in proximity, and then you go and take payment at the till with a shield behind it, it's kind of, you've already been so close up. So the barbers and the hairdressers, I think they are all kind of like, you need to have these face guards on as well. Several things to do before you reopen. Check your ventilation, check your air conditioning, making sure that you've got good circulation of air, and making sure that, yeah, that's all working on. Generally with air conditioning, it should be fine, but just give it a check before you reopen to make sure that's good. Make sure you've got processes in place for cleaning and the frequency of cleaning of equipment before you open. Make sure you're sanitizing any reusable equipment. And that also includes chairs, the whole table, where people are sat. Only have waiting areas where people can reasonably distance for the period while they're waiting, and where possible not have any waiting areas at all. Going on with bars and cafes, etc., we are only having it's up to 5 people from other areas. You're allowed to have, sorry, let me start this again. People should only visit a restaurant in their household groups or support bubbles with one other from that household, with only one other household. So there can be 2 households, that's it, their bubble, they can go. The exception for that is if you're serving people outside, when you can have up to 5 people from different bubbles together being served outside. If you're inside, it's just 2 family groups stuck together. If it's outside, you're up to 5 people in a group outside.
What's the maximum number, Simon, for the family group?
Doesn't say.
I think it's
it was
about
12.
7
12.
or 8.
It was 6 per family. I thought it was 12. I might be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say on here. And it's something like, yeah, because there's loads of things that don't add up, such as you can only have 30 people to a wedding, and then you can have something like up to 50 in a bar. So if you had the wedding at a bar, you could have 50.
Mm.
Look, it's the common sense type thing in here as well, and it's like if it.
Also, Simon, I think you're supposed to have a hand gel at the entrance when they walk in.
It's one of these things that having hand gel at the entrance for toilets as well, making sure that we've got one in, well, where possible, a 1 in, 1 out operation going on. For bars with who are going to have a significant amount of people in there, you have to make sure that you've got people on the door. So this is extra staff that are regulating how many people come in and come out of the area, and yeah, regular cleaning of toilet facilities that you have as well. Encouraging customers, and this again with signs and with just encouraging customers to use hand sanitizer and hand washing facilities as they enter the venues. So you're right there, Deborah, making sure you've, I hope you've got that at the entrance, and providing as many clear signs as possible. So you also have to be aware of disabilities. So if people are hard of hearing or hard of sight, they need to be able to be supported there. So they might not be able to read a sign or see a floor social distancing. So it's managing people with disabilities as well in this area.
About the social, sorry, Simon, the social distancing, I thought they reduced it to 1.5 and not 2.
It's 2 meters, but
Yeah.
it's reduced to 2 meters where possible. And if that's not possible, it's 1 meter plus.
Okay.
No, it's 1 meter back to back, 1.5 if it's sideways.
And on a Wednesday, that is?
Did you hear that? It's 1. If it's
Sorry, what did you say?
1 meter. If it's sideways, it's 1.5.
Okay, thank you.
So we will need, yeah. Again, also when you're opening the place up, it's how are we going to configure, I mean, I'm sure everyone's already done this, but how are you going to configure the restaurant to make sure that there is that social distancing, and constantly review this. So once it's open and you start seeing people sit down, then you think actually they are constantly coming up because they need to go outside or to the toilet or to have a look at the menu, you might have to constantly think about like, how we're going to reconfigure the layout of the premises to make sure that there is this social distancing in place where possible. So I don't think it's a case of, look, we just open up, we set the tables like that. It's analyze how people are moving through and what the flow is when they move through.
I think also, Simon, the advice was in restaurants, instead of salt and pepper canisters, you're supposed to have disposable little packs.
Yeah, and same with ketchup, sachets for ketchup and stuff like that as well. So yeah, hence mentioned even earlier, with anything that's been reused gets cleaned after use or it's disposable. So yeah, if you have got salt and pepper, then that would have to be washed out or reused, sanitized every time you used it. And I guess that's not practicable if you're spraying that onto the nozzle of a salt cellar. So yeah, where possible. And again, it's all common sense on it, or having as much a common sense approach as possible. We're not, I don't think, going to be able to adhere to every single recommendation they've got on here, but it is just making sure that you do as much as you possibly can do to reduce the risk.
So another issue is the council, you have to have a license or permit from the council to have tables and chairs outside. But this was raised early in the lockdown. Would the council, overlook that whilst the lockdown is in place, where those who didn't have that license can put a table or chair outside?
Oh, that's an extremely good call. It's this old sunshine tax that they discussed, wasn't it? So I think we need to go and challenge them on that. But
because Carol Squires was going to give us a response on that, if you remember.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go back to the bid and as a bid and speak to the council and try and get an answer on that one.
Okay.
Other things as well is, look, where possible, so such as hair salons and bars and hair salons and barbers, if you've got admin staff, can they work from home? Do we have to have a receptionist every time in a place, or can that be managed by the rest of the staff there as possible? So if they can do, and think about what you do need to do for those people to work at home to do that. If possible, using an app to do ordering. I know that's not always possible, and we've reviewed it ourselves with the bid and the uptake for that, and I don't think we've got a one-size-fits-all solution here that can be done there. But there's loads and loads more on there. All I can say is that go off to the government website, so search for working safely during coronavirus. Go to your appropriate page relative to your business and industry, and from there you go and have a look at the more detailed specifics. Now, a lot of this does duplicate across people, but it is a lot about what you need to do to open. So, I'm not going to carry on with those bits. I want to go on to the other bits. So, the other bits I wanted to talk about was supporting each other. So, I think the WhatsApp group is working superbly at the moment. We are looking like at the moment we've got an increase in crime going up. I think this might happen as well with more people wearing masks, etc. We've got a hot summer. We've got protests going on around the place, and maybe even Liverpool fans celebrating. But we need to support each other. And what we had was an instance where we've got the sharing information on our WhatsApp group, but that isn't GDPR compliant. So we do have a separate group that we're setting up, but we need to make sure people are signed in as to be agreement for making sure that they look after the data appropriately, they don't share personal data, and we're going around making sure people sign up for that. We've had a very good response. People want to sign up at the moment, which is really good, because we've tried this a few times before and it hasn't worked, but it sounds like there's a good appetite for this at the moment, which is excellent. I guess other ways of supporting is, look, share on the app. We're all going through this the first time. If people have got good experiences of, look, how do we track people and get their details. What is working well for us? What do we do? Do we have a better supplier for tomato ketchup sachets? Or do we have a good way of, an efficient way of cleaning down tables or desks, or good procedures that we can share between ourselves that other people would be interested in? Let's do it. Let's support ourselves with this. And look, we're here as a bit as well, providing a lot of PPE equipment. If there's stuff that you're short of and you haven't already claimed, then we will provide it. And if there's extra stuff, then we'll show you where you can get it at cost from whatever prices that we had paid for it as well beforehand. Going on to the support from the council and other finances, today is the last date for the discretionary loan. So if you've not been able to get a grant previously, not discretionary loan, discretionary grant, if you've not been able to get one of the previous grants and you've been affected by COVID, then today is your last day of going to apply. And if there is a chance of getting this grant, get it. I know they thought they'd be oversubscribed. I don't know if that is the case, because quite often people don't think they're eligible for it. But if you haven't had a grant, go and apply for the grant today. Go on, Marlon.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask from a bid perspective. We had a member who couldn't claim the grant based on some, I wouldn't say irregularities. There were some differences in her business rates information with the council. I think it was the name escapes me. The lady with the
About 3 or 4 like that.
Oh right, okay. So do we know if they would be able to progress the discretionary grant or not, or what's
they can do, yes. So it's and we've recommended everyone do that who we know who's had that issue. That issue was that you had businesses that didn't pay rates because they had full small business rate relief. So when they started up their business, they didn't have to contact the council didn't have to contact them, and they didn't realise they had to transfer their name, even though they're not paying rates, to the new name for that premises.
Yeah. Okay.
When the time came to get the grant, because they were applicable to get the grant, the dates were wrong, and so they were refused.
Okay.
But yes, they would be, as long as they've gone back to the council and changed it, they would be applicable to try and get that grant. Not saying they will get it, but they could apply for it.
Okay.
Also, we've got the small business loan, which, if you can pay it back, I don't recommend anyone necessarily takes that loan unless you can obviously pay it back. But these are incredibly good value, as in you don't have to pay for a year, and then it is at something like 2%. And then also, if you've got, well, actually, I'd advise anyone to speak to an expert such as Marlon with regards to any loans, really. I mean, there's quite a few loans going on at the moment. Are you doing stuff with Siebel still?
No, the Siebel's really is directly with the banks and the lending institutions. Yeah. I mean, we can give advice in terms of what direction to steer you in, but because the process is quite, especially the bounce back, it's quite seamless. It's just it's very straightforward. It's just, the advice really is just make sure that whatever you're borrowing, you've factored in how that debt or that liability is going to be repaid, because you know you have to repay it. But in terms of advice, the banks are giving that process.
Yeah, it's the concern that I've been speaking with a lot of people in financial and accountants, etc., is that this is going to have a knock-on effect a year down the line when people do have to start paying this off. So it's great now, but only make sure you can take a loan out if you can pay it back. Because speaking with debt collection companies, they're saying they're going to be so busy in about a year's time.
Well, there's a twofold to this actually, Simon, because you've got the impact of what happens in 12 months' time in terms of that liability being repaid, but there's also, that's the long term, but the short term is businesses and business owners need to be aware that when you are taking out these loans and debts, be very, very careful that you factor in all of those implications, because lenders now, so let's say, for example, you take out a bounce back loan, whatever the case may be, and then you're going to remortgage your house and you've taken a payment holiday. Lenders are factoring the decisions people have made during the COVID-19 period. So it's recognised that the government has sort of said, yeah, look, we'll support you. We've told lenders to hand back and give people the time that they need to actually get through this. But what they haven't said is that lenders are now turning around and saying, oh, well, you took a payment holiday or you took a bounce back loan and you're applying for a remortgage or a further advance. We're not going to give that to you, or we're going to factor that in because you kind of demonstrated that you couldn't afford to pay your mortgage or your liabilities during the COVID. So it's having a short-term knock-on effect as well. So people just need to be very aware when making those decisions, have a good think, sit down, talk to their broker, talk to their accountant, and understand what the full implications of those actually are.
You know what, Marlon, I would like to stress that again, actually. Speaking with some bank managers, they're saying that the government is going to come down hard on people doing fraudulent claims on this. And if you have been doing a fraudulent claim, you will go onto a fraud database. If you're on that fraud database, you will not get a library ticket, let alone another loan or anything like that. So do make, if you need it, take it out. But yeah, don't go down any fraud route. This is going to be so heavily regulated.
Marlon, am I correct in assuming that I think the loan was repayable over 6 years, isn't it?
Yes, so 6 years, 5 years is the repayment actual period, and the 1 year is interest free. So it's a 6-year term.
Yeah.
Okay, and so just closing this off at the moment with that. The final thing I'd like to just talk about is, look, we need to bounce back. Purley needs to bounce back. Now we do this by proving and demonstrating that we are a safe place to come and shop and have your hair cut and to eat and to drink, etc., and that we are seen to be doing those things. So thinking about that, even in that sentence, I think the bit where we challenge people to get their details, I think that is a really good demonstration that we can assure people are safe. The reason why I'm concerned about it is because we've got a lot of elderly people around Purley, and we've got to make sure that those are the people who we protect the most as well. As businesses, make sure every single one of you goes back on to Google My Business, onto your website, onto your social media, and make sure people know that you are open. There's also no harm of going onto those channels saying that these are the things that you are doing to make sure that you are keeping people safe when they enter your establishment, such as you might require their details, or that you are going to be having a 5-minute gap between appointments to clean the place down. Make sure that is shared as widely as possible. So Google My Business is the first thing that we should all be doing. That's a freebie. It doesn't cost you a thing. It'll come up on the first page of Google almost regardless when people search for you. Your website, make sure that's got the details up to date, hopefully on the first page as well, where they pop up, or just a banner to say, look, this is what we're doing to protect you and make sure you're safe. And then also social media, and every bit of social media. I just went through the last 2 months in Purley. There's thousands. We are really good at sharing the social, and it is being shared and distributed quite widely. I mean, Catherine's doing an awesome job with that. If you post something about your business, whether it's your new menu, what safety procedures you're doing, your change of opening times, we will share it as well. And aside from that, yeah, we've got to support each other and bounce back and get ourselves out of this. I mean, the stats today was we've had the biggest drop in the economy for about 40 years. However, actually, and conversely, people's own household income has increased because people haven't been going out spending. People haven't been going out to the bars. Some businesses, you said, have got these bounce backs and whatever, but there is some money in the economy to welcome people back in. So let's do this. Let's do it safely. Yeah, let's hope it works. And yeah, we
The
don't.
thing is, the spending power does increase, not the income.
Yes, not the income. Unfortunately, yeah, income's been a bit of a problem.
But as you were saying earlier about helping each other, I mean, you've got what you said about 145 members in the bid. Maybe like hairdressers or restaurants or bars. Because any member of Purley BID will get a, if they can show some document proof that they're a member of Purley BID, to get a, like a 10% discount or whatever.
Exactly, things like that. It's having partnerships between yourselves. So, say if you as a restaurant, you've got.
Marlon might give us 10% of the interest.
Yourself as a restaurant, or yourself as a barbers or hairdressers, we're going to have increased times between cuts and service. You probably won't have as much waiting room, but if you are like Diane's next to Marlon's, or you've got Weatherspoon's next to yourself, if you're waiting for the one client to turn round, we could pseudo use those other businesses as the waiting rooms to try and encourage people to say, look, okay, you can't wait in here, but why not wait in Lapisha? Have yourself buy yourself a coffee and do that in there. And trying to encourage people doing that, maybe.
I seem to recall some time ago, Croydon BID had those little cards that you had, that you were a member of Croydon BID.
They had Checkout Croydon.
That's right. Have you had something similar in Purley?
Yeah, we have investigated that quite a few times, whether it's the Purley Pound, discount cards, etc. You need to have the volume and turnover that they do have in Croydon to make those remotely viable. We can look about them again, and I think the one thing this has done, it's got a lot more people interested within the bid. And so if also we did have 30 businesses take up on the Purley Pound or the Purley discount card, then it could be viable.
Yes, so if they walk into any restaurant, pub or bar or hairdresser, they can show the card and they automatically get the discount.
Yeah, and look, we get contacted by these people weekly. There are lots of these options about there, and it's not a one size fits all. That's the issue, I guess, because and how do you monitor it and manage it, etc. But we can revisit it. I think we could easily go down the top 3 ones that we've identified beforehand.
Okay.
But yeah, our priority is going to be setting up the crime reduction partnership first of all. That seemed to be something which people had a lot of appetite for, so we'll be working around getting that set up as well. I hope that's been useful. There's a lot of information. Please do go onto the government sites. Please do go through the 40 odd pages. There is a lot of repetition on there, but do go through and make sure that you're looking after your staff, employees. There's bits about making sure their mental health is okay. So if people are admin staff and they're working at home for a long time, that you do keep in touch with them and you do speak with them and make sure that they are okay and that they're working right.
Simon, can I make a suggestion?
Go on.
Can you send this PDF on the WhatsApp? Because you can do that on WhatsApp, can't you?
What I'll do is if I send this link here,
yes,
on the WhatsApp, so this you can then go into here and say if you're right, okay.
Yeah.
We're looking at a restaurant.
That would be useful, Simon.
You've got this restaurant bit, and then you've got download the guidance. You've got all the rest of the bits on there. So
that's a better idea. Yeah, if you send the link on the WhatsApp, and then people can literally go on there. And
this again obviously has the 5 safety steps as well that we're looking to try and get people. But yeah, I shall. This is the important one. Will do.
Excellent.
Okay, right. So that was the last of our regular meetings. For people who are watching this post this meeting, if you are a Purley business and you do want to get involved, we are looking to take people onto the board as well to help make sure that we deliver a good business area, that particularly the COVID, that we bounce back safely, but moving forward, that we provide a really good experience when you come to Purley, and something that benefits us all. It's a relatively low investment as a Purley BID member, but the benefits we hopefully come back to you, and will come back in spades as we're working in the team. And you can help decide how we invest into Purley by applying to come onto the board as well. So we'll hope you can do that. Okay, if anyone's got anything they want to finish off with, now's your time. AOB, Deva?
Well, only to say thank you for all that's been done so far. It's worked quite well in keeping people in business in Purley informed of what's going on. And as you said at the outset, unless there's anything that is ultra urgent, you might reconvene. Otherwise, we'll wait for the lockdown and we can all celebrate then.
Yes, indeed. Catherine, you got anything to add?
No, all good, I think, apart from our artwork that's going up next week on the archway on Godstone Road.
Go on, you shout about it. What's it going to be?
Well, it's just saying Purley. We're having the area cleaned. It's tomorrow morning. And then next Monday, it says Purley with a pear tree going up on the brickwork. So it looks fantastic and it'll be a good welcome.
So keep an eye out for that. So on the railway bridge, as you come in or leave Purley, there's going to be this. It looks fantastic with regards to the artwork on it, and I hope it lives up to it because
it's not advertising a pub, Catherine.
No, just Purley.
That's certainly an area that needs a bit of a refresh as well. So we can't knock down mould china, but we can make that bit look better. So that's good. Marlon, anything to add?
No. Again, just relaying Deva's points. Fantastic support from the BID and specifically yourself. So yeah, just wanted to sort of reach out and say brilliant, fantastic. And I'm sure the members will recognise that. And I think the BID has become a bit more visible now where that's concerned and what value there is having a BID and that sort of small fraction sort of contribution towards the BID makes the big difference. I'm sure that will go on record as time goes on.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know why you're pointing at me. Catherine has just done an absolute sterling job.
And Catherine, sorry, Catherine. The BID. Well, I did say the BID.
It's great to see how the community is coming together as well, and the businesses are getting to know each other. So
absolutely.
That's so really good. Justina?
There's an aside, Simon. Why is that my old China building empty for so many years?
We don't have enough time to go into that. That's another call. Join the board and we'll talk about it. Of which, I know we've spoken about that, so we'll follow that up later. Justina, have you got anything?
Yeah, thank you very much, all of you on the BID, and especially for your work regarding the proposed road work that was to start, and you were able to halt it, which is really good. Thank you to everybody, and the solidarity we had was wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that road work will happen at some time, but with a bit of notice, I hope, next time.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ayana, anything to? Oh, I forgot. Did you want to type or something? We can't hear.
A thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, great stuff. Right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll be seeing you around. If not, we'll probably be having board meetings, which might well be open. I don't know how we're going to be holding those moving forward. But yeah, keep safe and yeah, keep engaged with us. But we'll be keeping in contact. Okay. All the best, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.